Yeah, we're finding out just what it takes.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, Sean. And
Mhm.
Sean, thank you for being a customer. Thank you for being a partner. We appreciate the partnership. We've spoken a lot about enterprise TrueRisk last 2 days.
Yeah.
What is your thoughts, your opinion, on how can enterprise TrueRisk benefit you as a customer, benefit your OCI customers?
Yeah, well, let me tell you about how we manage that at Oracle today currently, and it's gonna feel very familiar, right? So, the scans of our environment are continuous, and the next step is obviously we have to triage those through security professionals, and do so quickly, and so that way we can raise or lower the severity based on actual determination of threat and whether it can be realized and so on. And then it's all about communication, right? And those automatically fire off tickets to our engineers that actually run and own the services. And then we communicate again, and we communicate again, and we communicate again. And as we approach that deadline for, based on rating, that communication chain starts to include their VP's SVP, and we find it to be very effective.
Yeah.
Obviously, everyone wants to do the right thing, but the ability to go from this to funnel them, right, and then hand them off to the right people to get them mitigated is super important. And it sounds like to me what you're now enabling customers to do is, take something that we're doing at scale, right, as a cloud provider, and do it within their own shops to the kind of the same veracity. And I'm super excited about that.
Absolutely. And Jonathan, you have a dual role. You're also a consumer of the Qualys Cloud platform. How would Enterprise TrueRisk help you, your team, and help our customers here?
Yeah, I mean, we've changed the way we report risk, internally all the way up to the board, and have lined true risk as kind of our key metric that we present for what we kind of call, cyber hygiene, right? How well is our infrastructure from a risk perspective? And I have to admit, it's been a nice change, right? And where we were originally very what I would call KPI driven, like how many of this did you patch and how many of this severity did you patch? And when we stopped and, had conversations with our leadership, it's hey, that doesn't make sense, right? Because I don't care about the volume or how many, it's what risk did you reduce based on that? And listen, it took us a little bit to get there, a couple of quarters to work with the teams and get the dashboard set up and aligned. But now I feel like the conversations are much more fruitful, right? Because we're saying, we're not looking at output, how many of these did we do? We're now looking and having a conversation on risk, and that's been much more productive for us internally, and then obviously working with our customers to hopefully adopt what we think is some best practices around how we do it as well.
Absolutely. And Sean, for you, being one of the largest cloud providers in the world and the scale and the quantum of data at which you operate, what are some of the unique security challenges that you see?
Yeah, as a cloud provider, our initial core responsibility is to, make sure that the host for our services, the hosts that the hypervisors sit on, as well as all of the networking related equipment is risk-free, right, or cleared of any risk. And because our customers rely on us for that, right? Because they're building their applications, their workloads on top. But the other unique challenge for us is Oracle is a provider of infrastructure and platform services, but also a ton of SaaS applications, both what you would traditionally think about as being from Oracle, as well as industry solutions that you'd be like, Oracle makes that?
Yeah.
And those live inside Oracle Cloud Infrastructure too. So our security organizations have to creep up the stack there in terms of Oracle's responsibility. And then there is our need to enable our customers in terms of helping them accelerate their own journey in their quote-unquote side of the responsibility model, right? And that's where partners like yourselves definitely come in.
Absolutely. And Jonathan, with all the expansion that Qualys has done with platforms in Europe, in Australia, in the Middle East, what are the security challenges you face today?
Yeah, I mean, I would say in our some of the former sessions, while simplicity is always the hope, the complexity of some of these are kind of forced on us working in numerous geos, right? You know, because most of the regulators want data sovereignty, right? So they, even if you are providing a SaaS service, right, they want their data within maybe their country or region, depending on who you're working with. It's the same thing in the US, right? You know, people expect your data to remain in the US. And so, you know, operating at that scale creates a lot of challenges to meeting primarily the regulatory requirements. And then each of those regulations are obviously a little bit different. So, you know, suddenly your master control framework and policies, you know, are expanding in size to accommodate for things like IRAP in Australia or, you know, potentially the new Kingdom of Saudi Arabia cloud requirements that you have to meet.
Yeah.
And so, you know, Oracle's been a great partner of ours to work with and to meet some of those kind of data locality requirements. And then obviously being everywhere in the globe, you know, you just have the issues of staff time, time zone challenges to make sure that you have teams in that time zone to work with the regulators, obviously to monitor 24/7 across distributed ecosystems can be quite a challenge. So definitely the global nature of operations adds a lot of work, a lot of complexity, and compliance, I would say, is probably the biggest driver in that.
Absolutely. And, you know, coming to regulators, regulators aren't making the job of a CISO any easy, but is technology making your job easier? So, Sean, your opinion on AI, is it helping you, helping your teams?
Yeah, and that's the key part. It's helping our teams be more efficient and focus on, call it more interesting or fruitful work as opposed to just slogging their way through, you know, a bunch of unvalidated, unqualified events, right? You know, I think what we've seen for the CISO role in general is, you know, we are now understood to be, you know, the owners, not the owners of, but the communicators of cyber risk inside our organizations. And CISOs have learned that they need to enable their businesses as opposed to being, I was once called the guy that put the no in technology. That's not what we want, right? And so all of these new tools, all of the, you know, advances, AI included, can drive those efficiencies. And I think at the CISO level, we can then look at how do we redeploy resources based on that. Because let's face it, we're probably not going to get more resources, but we can start focusing on things that we were too swamped to focus on before.
Absolutely. And Jonathan, how is AI helping you and your team make better informed decisions?
Yeah, you know, I think we're in the early stages of AI. I mean, you know, probably like everyone, one of the hardest things I face is just staffing and staffing shortages and you know, for better or worse, everyone has their own query languages or their own languages, you know, to orchestrate the tools. So, you know, I think a lot of the generative AI have allowed us to hire people and get them up to speed quicker. You know, and at the same time, you know, I'll be honest, there's a lot more work for me because of AI, right? Because now I need to pen test those models, and listen, pen testing of AI is very different than your traditional network pen testing, right? And it's a very specialized skill set that's kind of developing, and so, you know, the challenge is, do I insource that? Do I need to go out and find a specialist who knows, you know, all of the ins and outs of, you know, there's prompt attacks that, again, you wouldn't deal with in normal apps, and then there's poisoning of the model. And so, while I think we see some of the benefits, we also see some of the challenges and the complexities. And then you get into privacy concerns. How is your data being used? Do you need to update terms of service? So it's kind of the yin and the yang of it, right? Like I'm getting some of the benefits, but I'm also feeling some of the pressure to make sure that whatever we're either consuming from a third party, or obviously the products that Qualys produces, we have to make sure that those are secure, they're meeting our contract terms and requirements. And then, of course, now we're starting to see probably some enhanced regulation on AI, at least in the US. The president just released an executive order, really kind of the first in the nation on what does security and securing AI look like. And so I would expect for anyone that is using it or building it, we're going to see a lot more scrutiny over the security of AI. And even in this executive order, right, they're calling out specifically the need to red team and pen test certain AI models and then provide those results to regulators, right, to get their buy-in and feedback. Now, I think the one thing that's interesting as well, though, and I'm glad to see Qualys kind of being on the cutting edge, is the presidential order also called out that they're going to start investing in and looking at ways to use AI to patch 0 days. And it, kind of, if you read it, it's the idea of almost in real time being able to develop a patch or a mitigation, I think, as we've talked about, because as we all know, a 0 day comes out, you didn't know about it, suddenly you're waiting on a patch from a vendor that has to go through QA testing, and that could be 30 days. So I was really excited to see that at least at Qualys, we're lined up, I think, with where the proper use of AI is going for security.
That's exciting.
Yeah, absolutely, Jonathan. We've spoken about cyber insurance, and Jonathan, you and I have had some very interesting discussions on cyber insurance. Your opinion as a thought leader on cyber insurance of the industry, on the state, the way they measure, what's your take there?
Yeah, definitely as a consumer of cyber insurance, it's been an interesting 3 to 5 years. I think ransomware drove up everyone's premiums quite extensively. And then I think in the last 12 months, we've kind of seen the premiums come down a little bit. I think there's a lot more scrutiny by insurers over your true controls. I mean, the majority of the time, honestly, they were, from what I saw, poorly thought out spreadsheets that they would ask you to fill out, and not a lot of scrutiny. And so, I think now we're being asked for, what is your Qualys data saying about your infrastructure? What are these third-party sources saying? I mean, I've seen insurers that said, hey, listen, from Shodan, we saw this associated with your company. You better explain that. So I think the level of scrutiny is really going up. And for Qualys, I think we also hope that they will make decisions more on data, right? Like, I mean, again, there's a lot of data we have in our ecosystem for customers, and I think we're hoping at some point our customers can pull their true risk report and say, hey, listen, I'm a 250, which is extremely low, and those insurance companies will say, hey, listen, I agree, I sign off on that, that's right, and guess what, your premiums will be lower this year.
Absolutely. This is where the concept of adaptive insurance comes, where you measure risk continuously. Sean, your opinion on cyber insurance?
Yeah, no, I mean, I couldn't agree with Jonathan more. I remember when the organization I was a CISO of at the time in 2012 got our first policy, and I filled out like a 2-page PDF of questions like, how many devices in your environment are encrypted? And I'm like, oh, are they gonna, use this to throw darts at to determine, my premiums? And so with the rise in cybercrime, they've had to reflect on, the insurers have to, look at their profitability. So it's only natural that a shift to organizations like yours that have reputable processes by which risk can be evaluated and then communicated back to the insurers is going to be key. And so we can get people the right protection at the right price from an insurance perspective, and hopefully also use that as a backdoor to increase customers' overall hygiene too, right?
Yeah, that's a good
I think that, the financial decision there can help us as security professionals, I think is what I'm saying.
We're all glad it is now data-driven, and it's moving towards a data-driven model. That's really the key about it. Moving, Sean, to a little bit about the partnership and the VSS integration that we have with Qualys within the OCI platform. How does that benefit OCI customers?
Yeah, well, here's the thing, and for those of you that in cloud security will know this well, there's kind of two schools of thought, right? There's the native security approach inside cloud, and then there's the third-party kind of holistic across all of your estate view. And the beauty of the partnership here is that customers can have both, right? They can use OCI, our vulnerability scanning service, with Qualys as the actual scanning agent, so they can take advantage of the native automation capabilities based on what's found within OCI. But that's also reporting back to their Qualys console so they can see all of their enterprise risk. So it's super exciting because really we're giving customers more choices and at the same time being more prescriptive about what secure looks like.
Absolutely. And last question for you, Sean, before we wrap up. With your push towards marketplaces and UCM, which is the Universal Credit Model, how can OCI customers buy or leverage Qualys as part of that model?
Well, here's the cool thing, right? So through the marketplace now and via private offers within what all of y'all can do is, negotiate your pricing and terms directly with Qualys and then begin consuming against those terms using your Oracle, what we call UCC, so the cloud credits that you buy. And so it's working with the trusted partner, but also kind of burning down that commitment as part of your overall spend in cloud. And so I think this is the way many, if not most, of our customers are going to go. And the fact that we can streamline it is super important and super exciting.
Absolutely, this is exciting for OCI customers. This is exciting for Qualys customers. Jonathan, last for you. Any last thoughts on the partnership and the collaborative approach we've taken?
No, it's been great. Listen, we're very appreciative of our relationship with Oracle and would encourage everyone to consider them. And again, great ways to use Qualys natively within the Oracle Cloud infrastructure. So, if you are using it and a customer of both of ours, it's very easy to get set up. And I would say, listen, we're all very approachable. So if you are in that situation where you're considering it, feel free to grab me or Sean while we're here, and we can talk through what we do together and how that could help you.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And Sean, again, thank you for the partnership. Thank you for being a customer. It's been great, and thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.